And we also already start the streaming from YouTube. And you can see on the top of the screen there is a mark that live on YouTube already. And if you choose the pull down menu, we will see the link that you can share if you want to.
Tes, tes, tes.
Okay, Corinne, stand by. We will start recording this meeting in 3, 2, 1. Recording start.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 20th Airlangga Webinar Conference Series. My name is Dr. Corinne, along with my senior, Dr. Ahmad Heriana, and my colleagues, Dr. Imran, Dr. Alvin, Rahul, Arya, and Winnie. We are the organizing committee members of this afternoon's webinar. This webinar is organized by the Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Airlangga, Surabaya. Right now, the registrants has reached up to 410. Before we proceed, allow us to show you the rules of this webinar. Here are rules for ED accredited certification. Full participation during this webinar is required. Your attendance will be recorded by the Zoom application. So notifying your presence in the chat room is not advisable as this will disturb others with notifications. By the end of this webinar, complete a survey form and write your name and title for the certificate. The certificate will be sent to your registered email address. And here's are the rules for Q&A. Use the Q&A box on the middle of your Zoom panel and write down your question. Do not ask topic-related questions in the chat box since it might be drawn with other important statements. Questions will be sorted and discussed after all lectures have been presented. We sincerely hope you enjoy this webinar, and we will start this event with an opening remark from our beloved host, Dr. Ahmad Heriana. Dr. Ahmad Heriana, the time is yours.
Thank you, Corinne. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
First of all, praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala because by His grace we can together attend to this webinar. Good afternoon, dear professors. Good afternoon, dear speakers, seniors, and colleagues. And welcome to the Airlangga Webinar Conference Series, which this time has entered its 20 episodes since middle of May 2020. My name is Ahmad Junior Haryana, and I will be the host of this webinar. And Alhamdulillah, the participants this afternoon have reached 410 registrants. In this webinar, we choose the topic of maximizing students' learning in the transition to the new normal. First, let me welcome to our speaker this afternoon, Dr. Brahmaputra Mariadi, MPH PhD from the Western Sydney University, Australia. And the second, our Professor Debbie Jarsma, DVM, PhD from University Medical Center Groningen, Netherlands. And of course, our teacher, our senior, our mentor, our beloved Professor Dr. Nancy Margareta Rehata from Airlangga University, Surabaya. We also welcome and thank you for your willingness to be the panelist for this afternoon webinar. Professor Dr. Tri Nur Christina, DMM Magister Kesehatan from Diponegoro University Semarang, and Dr. Herkutanto, MPH Mars from University of Indonesia, Jakarta. And also we wish to welcome to our guest of honor this afternoon, Dr. Fuji Lestari, Dr. Magister Kesehatan, Dr. Linda Dewanti, Dr. Magister Kesehatan, Adik Muhammad Muhibudin Hilmi Asari, Dr. Helmi Hasan, dan tentu saja Dr. Khalifatul Ummah Fitriah. And the last, thank you for our energetic AWCS team, Imran, Alvin, Corin, Rahul, Arya, Wina, and of course our beloved mentor, Dr. Asra Al-Fawzi. And now it's time for me to hand over the event to Dr. Fundi Sinar Ikrar Prihatanto as our moderator this afternoon. Please, Dr. Fundi.
Thank you, Dr. Boy. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I say afternoon because some of us still in the morning, Prof. Debbie Asma, and also in the near to the evening, Dr. Bram. Thank you very much for all your kind participation in this meeting. I'm delighted to be assigned as a moderator in this nice meeting because I think this problem of pandemic impact every aspect in the human being and also impact the medical education, especially for the most important stakeholders, our beloved students. As Dr. Boy has been proposed all the important persons that are available here, we are lucky to have Professor Debbie Asma here from the North Hemisphere of the globe, Dr. Bram from the South Hemisphere, and also just near to the equator, there is Prof. Rita as the third speakers in this meeting. And also, thank you very much, Dr. Herkutanto and Prof. Trinur Christina from the other parts of Indonesia, and all of the honorable guests. So, as we talk in the first part of my speech, we face to the time difference. So, let's conduct this session on time. So please, Dr. Bram, as the first speaker, you can start your presentation now.
Okay, thank you very much, Fundi. I'm going to share my screen and share my presentation. So with the webinar today, the topic is how to improve support students' learning during the pandemic. My presentation is the role of community engaged learning this in surviving and thriving under COVID-19. And the background of this is because if you want to support student learning, then one of the things is that under this abnormal situation, let's try and make it as normal as possible. And we learned a lot from since the end of March until now, and we would just like to share some of the experiences and how we reflected on those experiences. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm now living, I'm from Indonesia. I'm an alumnus from UNER as well, and Fakultas Kedokteran UNER, but now I live in Australia, so I would like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land where I'm at the moment, the Daruk people in particular, and the Aboriginal people of Australia have welcomed me into their traditional land, and I would like to extend my thanks for their elders, past and present. I now work at the Western Sydney University's School of Medicine. My university was created for the Greater Western Sydney area. Greater Western Sydney is is the most diverse region in Australia, and one of the fastest growing regions in the country as well. Our School of Medicine was established back in 2007 with a specific remit to meet the health and medical needs of underserved communities in Greater Western Sydney and also beyond, particularly in the rural areas where we send our students for their rural program. We are a 5-year undergraduate entry program, so students enter our school through direct from high school. We have a slightly unique structure of the curriculum, not only for Indonesia, but also in Australia, because we have 2-year preclinical and 3-year clinical, which is quite unusual. When they're a 5-year program, normally it's 3-year preclinical and 2-year clinical, but we swap it the other way around. And since the establishment of our school, we are committed to social accountability, community engaged learning as an approach, immersive learning. So basically, and this is why we go with only 2 preclinical years. So we really limit the number of lectures, but we throw our students out there so that they can learn directly from immersion and a fully integrated curriculum. So this is an illustration of our curriculum, the components that are related to community engaged learning. So as you can see, we engage our community partners from the beginning, which is from student selection and down to the teaching, all in year 1 all the way to year 5 in different parts of the curriculum. And we also engage our community partners in the assessment. Actually, we engage not just community partners, but also students. So we have our students being part of selecting the next generation of students. And we involve our students in lots of the teaching activities and also in the assessment as well. We got student inputs into all that. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that a bit later. My presentation this afternoon is going to focus on these 2 parts of the curriculum, which is going from year 1 all the way to year 3, which is called the Medicine in Context program, which I convene. So Medicine in Context is a flagship community engaged learning program. Currently, we're running it from year 1 to year 3 because we are currently running a new curriculum, but it is designed to be run from year 1 all the way to year 5. And there are 3 major components to the MIC program. One is the face-to-face workshops, and then immersive community NGP placements, and then face-to-face tutorials. So basically, we prime the students using the workshop, and then we send them out to community, to GP clinics, and then we debrief them during the tutorials. As you can see there, we co-designed, co-delivered, and co-evaluated and co-assess our Medicine in Context curriculum, just like we do with any part of our community engaged curriculum. So what happened since COVID-19? COVID-19 hit Australia towards the end of March 2020. And the first issue that we faced is that we had community placements and GP placements canceled and diminishing because suddenly all these community organizations emailed us and saying, I'm sorry, we cannot take your students anymore. And at that stage, many of our students were in the first 2 weeks into their 5-week placements. So you can imagine we started having what we call orphan students because suddenly they lost the opportunity to do placements, and they got stuck in that limbo. And many GP clinics turned into telehealth. And in telehealth, as you can imagine, there is no physical examination. Many of the GP clinics actually would not take students, or when they do take students, they are facing challenges how to keep social distancing, physical distancing while delivering telehealth, because the student and the supervisor must keep their distance as well. In Australia, we have this 4 square meter rule. So basically for one person, there needs to be 4 square meter around them. So you can imagine in most GP clinics, we cannot keep that distance in a small sort of examination room. And then we started having students who must self-isolate. Some of them started developing science. Everybody has been negative, thank goodness for that. But some students, they have to self-isolate for 14 days, or they have to self-isolate until their symptoms disappeared, or they have to wait until their swab result came up. So suddenly we got students who could not go to the placement, even if the placement is available. And then we have to convert, as everybody else all over the world, we have to convert our teaching to fully online, which is very challenging because we have a very interactive workshops. We do a lot of gamification. So we have a lot of games to play with the students. And suddenly we have to play everything via Zoom. Uncertainty with second wave, just as we started going back on campus because the first wave has gone down, then the second wave came. It hit Victoria, the next door state, and in New South Wales, in my state, it hit Southwest Sydney, where our campus is located. So suddenly all this plan to go back on campus just thrown into chaos. We have to go back to online delivery and that sort of thing. And then on top of that, as many universities in many countries suffered. Australia international student is the third largest export, and since since COVID-19 started, then many international students could not enroll or could not continue their studies. They couldn't come to Australia. All universities in Australia are bleeding out financially. So a number of universities had to make hundreds of their staff members redundant. And there's drastic reduction in our casual teaching staff. At one point, my team of 10 people was reduced to only 3 people, including myself. So we have to keep running the program, running the curriculum in a different mode, but we only have like 30% of staff available. So those are the main challenges that we found under COVID-19. But the show must go on. The students still have to graduate as a doctor because we decided not to stop our clinical year because otherwise we don't have doctors to graduate. So what was our response? We developed 4 contingency plans. So what to do if the placement is cut off halfway, what to do if the student has to self-isolate, what to do of this, what to do in that. We developed 4 contingency plans, and it was a record for our school that a change in the curriculum started to approval only took 12 days. That was the, and then we have to support the shift to work from home style for community placements. Some of community partners we're still happy to have students, to supervise students, but they have to do it online. And many of them are still struggling. Unlike academics, so we use Zoom all the time. Community organizations are not familiar with Zoom. Some of them don't even have, the paid Zoom account. So we have to support them in that. Then we start, part of the 4 contingency plan is to create virtual community placements. Where students do not actually go anywhere, but they still learn about community organizations. We have to mobilize online program offerings from community partners and our rural programs. So this is, for example, a mental health service usually would have a walk-in clinic face-to-face, and students can sit in with the placement. But now everything is delivered online. They cannot jump into the Zoom because it's very difficult. But then we asked the community partners, could you please do something else? Do you have anything else going? So they started offering us online workshops, online webinars, that sort of thing, which then we incorporate into our contingency plan, and that was part of our virtual community placements. And then we start coaching our research colleagues because, like I mentioned, we lost a lot of teaching academics, casual teaching academics. So we have we got support from our teaching colleagues, teaching staff. Then we have to coach them because they did their day job is as researchers. So we have to train them, we have to coach them in the way of delivering MIC in particular. And then we have community guest lecturers. This is how we co-deliver our curriculum, is with community guest lecturers. We have to coach them how to deliver the case studies and everything online. Same story, some of them never used Zoom at all. Some of them have firewalls in their internet, in their workplace, so they cannot use Zoom. So, so it's been pretty challenging going through all these hoops. And then we had to redesign all workshop and tutorials. Let me give you one example. We have this workshop about disadvantage, how to teach students about disadvantage in our patients. And we normally would deliver that as a treasure hunt. So, Scrabble tiles, we hide about 600 Scrabble tiles all over our building, the faculty, and the students have to run around the building and find the Scrabble tiles, basically. Now, suddenly we have to deliver that over Zoom. No, you cannot hide Scrabble tiles in Zoom, and you cannot have the students running around when they are on Zoom. So that was one of the challenges. We have to redesign everything because we still want to employ gamification of our teaching because it really hits home for them. It's changing not just their knowledge, but also their attitude. And then on top of everything, all that, our accreditation body in Australia, the Australian Medical Council, is putting a microscope on all medical schools, and we have to report to them what changes we made to the curriculum, what are the rationale for the changes, and what are the impacts, and what are our plans, just to make sure that we're not jeopardizing our whole curriculum. So we were put under the microscope by the Medical Council. So have we been successful? Obviously I'm biased, but I think we are. First of all, we managed to maintain the learning outcomes and equitable learning opportunities. Some students could still go for community placements physically. Some students are doing it remotely. Some students are doing it virtually, like no connection whatsoever. They're doing it virtually. But so far so good. We managed to ascertain that the students achieve the same competency in the same learning outcomes. We didn't have to change our learning outcomes at all, and the students managed to get where we wanted them to get. We got an amazing cooperation from student representatives, community partners, researchers who now are teachers, and our rural colleagues, particularly because they provide us with lots and lots and lots of online opportunity for students to learn about the rural situation. And people say imitation is the best form of admiration. So the approaches that we use in medicine in context has now been adopted by other clinical disciplines in my school. So my dean actually promoted these approaches for all the other disciplines and has been adopted by others. And an overwhelming appreciation by students and community partners whenever we ran an evaluation. All of them said, thank you so much. We know how hard it must be for you to maintain the curriculum, the program, and we really appreciate your work. This is as good as it gets under the circumstances. I know this is not ideal, but I still learn a lot from all these alternative models and that sort of comments. We found that the transition has been relatively smooth. We are panicking, but we don't show it. Okay, so from the outside, from the students' point of view, and from the community partners, it seems like we're on the ball all the time. Even though we're like that a lot. We did that a lot, and then we have a very good engagement from our recruited research colleagues. We found out, we were afraid we might lose our community partnerships because if you don't use them, you lose them. But instead, we found that our partnership have become much stronger under this test. This is really testing the strength of our partnership, and both the school and the community partners have shown that we become much stronger. And this is what I say. So we have survived, but not only survived, we actually thrived. We actually developed even better because we actually got new community partners. So we got organizations calling us and say, hey, I want to take your students. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, we were afraid we're going to lose partnership, but instead not only we maintained them, but we actually got new partners. And then we came up out of all this, we came up with new models of community placement, which we will adopt until even when COVID is over, we are still going to run some of the new innovations because we found that they are really, really good. And the students greatly benefited from that. Now, how did we get to this success? The key to our success is a consistent and persistent application of our philosophy since 2007. We have more than 100 community organizations as our partners, and they're incredibly supportive of us. Sharing of power and recognition between academics, professional staff, students, and community partners. We share the design of the new curriculum. We share the evaluation of the new curriculum. We do it everything with the students and the community partners and the admin staff and the academics and the researchers all the time, every step of the way. We're all in this together. So what is this philosophy that we run? It is based on some theoretical underpinning, as we were expected to. And then it's also based on our values. So based on some theories, and we adopted with looking into our values, we come up with this operating framework that we've been operating since 2007. And the end point of that is ensuring that we are still meeting our social accountability mission. Now, social accountability is defined as that definition on your screen. It's a very long definition. You can't really, it's very difficult to understand. So I decided just focusing on some keywords there, that all our education, research, and service activities must address the priority health concern, which are jointly identified with the community, with the students. So that's the principle of social accountability. Basically, we need to make sure that our curriculum is relevant for the community. So the theoretical frameworks, there are three. One of them, the first one is community engaged health professional education. And that's the model, that's the reference there for the model. This was co-developed by an international collaboration in 2017, including myself. And then our university is championing partnership pedagogy. Basically, it is about working together with students as partners, as curriculum partners, as well as community partners. And underpinning all this is the Boyer's model of scholarship. There are 4 types of scholarship there. We utilize all these 4 types of scholarship in developing our philosophy. And as I mentioned before, our values, it distilled from our history. Yes, we're relatively young. We're only 12 years old, 13 years old this year, but we reflected a lot in our early years, and inspired by the grassroots public health approach and interprofessional collaboration. And I mentioned earlier that I'm an alumnus from Fakultas Kedokteran in Airlangga University. Anybody who's like in my sort of era must know these 4 lines of poem, on the wall of PPKM office. Go to the people, live among them, love them, learn from them. And that is the inspiration behind all these approaches that we're doing. So we have this thing that could be called a 4 of 4s model. So there are 4 curriculum collaboration works: co-design, co-deliver, co-assess, and co-evaluate. We are which all of them are conducted together by 4 actors: academic staff, professional or admin staff, students, and community partners, with the rigor of 4 scholarships by Boyer: scholarship of the discovery, integration, teaching, and engagement, and underpinned by our values. Mutual benefit, everything must benefit both sides. We cannot have a community partnership which is take. We have to give and take all the time. Mutual respect, everybody's on equal footing here. We respect students' opinion, we respect our community partners' opinion. I am an academic, but I am not the top of the food chain. When it comes to talking about community services, then I'm a learner. My community partners are my teachers. So that's the mutual respect. Ongoing partnership. Many of our partnership has started back in 2007. So that's a long time in making. And shared recognition. Since 2017, we started publishing, we started presenting in conferences together with our students, with our community partners as well. So we share the work, we share the hard work, and we share the glory as well. So in undertaking the 4 curriculum work. So as you can see, this is the framework that we got, and it's nicely painted into this colorful diagram here. So in conclusion, a philosophical community engaged learning framework, which is translated with consistency and commitment, has resulted in the surviving and thriving of our community engaged learning curriculum under COVID-19 challenges. In the process, going back to the theme of this webinar, we believe that we have been supporting our students in these uncertain times and support their learning and ensuring they're still reaching the competency as we planned before the pandemic. So as acknowledgement, as you can see that this is our theme, and as you can see with the different colors there, you can see how the academics, professional staff, researchers, student, and community partners are. This is what I mentioned about the shared recognition. This is our work together. Yes, I'm presenting it, but without the collaboration, we will never get to this point. Thank you very much. Get back the time for the to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bram. I think your presentation is very nice, and as well as some models and innovation that you have made. It is also contextual, I think, because the 4 Confucius pillar is still used right now in our education recently. So thank you, and I think it should followed by some question by participants that you can use the Q&A button on your screen. Then you can type down your question that can be discussed together in the last part of the meeting. So for the second one, my teachers, Professor Debbie Yarsma, will talk about how to provide support for the students in this devastating era, I think, for their learning. So how to prepare them and perhaps to make the education still running in this time. So please, Professor Debbie, you can start your presentation in 30 minutes. Time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Fundi. I'll just try to share it.
Nggak dengar. We cannot hear your voice, Prof. Debbie.
Can you hear it now?
No voice?
Hear it now?
It's so narrow, yeah.
So small.
Yeah, so small.
Weak.
Prof.
Make it
Debbie,
louder.
I think there is something problem with your microphone. Maybe you can use the computer microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Just pull out the cable and using the microphone from the laptop.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better.
Yeah, that's better, Prof. Debbie. Yeah.
Perfect. Let me see, then I'll share it again. Okay, let me check if you can hear me. Yes, it's okay?
Yeah, that's better than previously.
Okay. Perfect, then I'll start. I'd really like to express my thanks to Dr. Fundi, Professor Rita, for inviting me to be here. And thank you all for listening to me in English, because still my Bahasa is really bad. And thank you, Prof. Brahma Putra, for showing this inspiring talk before me. And we in the developed countries always like to think that we're doing things really well. And I think I'm going to share a story that we really struggled in the Netherlands and in Groningen. So my story will be less optimistic, I think, than Prof. Brahmaputra's story. I work at the University of Groningen, which is in the northern part of the Netherlands. And I like to share with you what we have been trying to do in our preclinical years. So we also, we have a 6-year undergraduate program with the first 3 years preclinical and the last 3 years clinical. And I'm going to focus on the preclinical years. And I'd like to show you this model of Gert Bista. He's a Dutch educationalist, and he proposes that education is about 3 things. So it's about qualification. We all know that it's about learning new knowledge, learning new skills, but it's also about socialization. So learning society norms and values, also what it means to become a health professional. But I think also what Prof. Bram just showed us, understanding the community. And the purpose of subjectification, which is quite a difficult word, but it means that we want our learners to develop as autonomous professionals, as autonomous actors, so that they can think for themselves. So these are the 3 purposes that he proposes and that we try to use in our education, in our curriculum. But I must say, the main focus is always on qualification. So we tend to forget a little bit about the other purposes. And I use this model for the pedagogical considerations and recommendations that we used in our transition during the COVID time. Because we had to move from mid-March to suddenly online education. And I think I can say out loud that our teachers are not that big a fan of online education. We tried it before in our curriculum, so we wanted to tape our lectures, for instance. We don't have a lot of lectures, but we do still have some lectures. And we wanted to tape them for the students. The students really liked that because then they could look the lectures back, and our teachers really didn't want that. So we came from, well, really little online education, and we had to move to complete online education. Our students were not allowed in our buildings anymore. And on the really positive side, what happened, and I think Prof. Bram just showed us, we moved really quickly. So there are some great initiatives and some great examples that some of our more innovative teachers made. Knowledge clips. They really try to make interactive webinars for our students. And what was a great success was the recap sessions. So in our curriculum, normally we have once, I think every 2 to 3 weeks, we have a recap session where the teacher is present in the lecture room and that students can ask questions. And normally they wouldn't show up, and they would be really scared to ask questions. There was a lot of social comparison among them. They were scared to ask questions, to look stupid if they would ask a question. And suddenly online, these sessions were highly popular because they could ask their questions in the Q&A box or in the chat box. And suddenly there were 200 students participating and there were a lot of questions. So that was, I think, a really applaudable example. And this was all focused on the knowledge acquisition part. But I think we were also seeing that there were a lot of things that we could do better, which was acknowledged by everyone, but we were also overwhelmed by what was happening to us. So everybody was frantically trying to get things started, and calmly evaluating was not the time for that. But if I would list them, and that's also the advice I was asked to give, is that we could do better in optimizing our pedagogical strategies. Our curriculum is really based on the PBL philosophy. So really the students should be active in their learning. And how nice these knowledge clips were, they were really teacher-centered. So it was difficult to maintain our philosophy in this new setting. And part of our philosophy, and you know, a PBL, a problem-based curriculum, is based on critical thinking, on elaboration, on self-regulation, and also that was difficult to maintain in this transition. In our physical curriculum, we had quite a lot of collaborative assignments, so that students had to work together. And that was also a challenge to get that still running. Our teachers struggled, as I said, you know, actually more our younger teachers were able to move up quite fast and know what to do, and they were also flexible. But we also had a lot of teachers struggling. And I run a support department of helping these teachers, and we have an e-learning team supporting these teachers, but it was really a lot. If I count our teachers, I don't know how it is in your settings, but we have a really large university hospital, and our teachers come from that hospital mainly. So we have about 600 teachers, and all of them give parts of the curriculum, and it's just impossible to all support and develop them. And another complicating factor, which is quite silly and practical, but our teachers didn't have any webcams on their computers in the hospital. It wasn't allowed before because they were afraid of patient privacy. But now they couldn't do all these online lectures because they didn't have webcams. And suddenly the stores also didn't have webcams anymore, which was so silly and practical, but really important. Our students were, I think I agree with Prof. Brahm that our students could really see that we're working really hard, and they valued that. But what they also gave back to us is that we could pay more attention to solid communication and information. They found it sometimes really hard to know and understand what we were trying to do. And one of the advice that we want to give is that because of this transition and so many new things happening, that we should consider what is there to stay. Because also really good things are developed, and it may be a difficult time to see that now, but I think it's important to already try to look for what do we want to keep and further develop if we're ever going to go back to normal, and what that may be. And I'm not sure how that is in other countries, but our students were suffering sometimes, their well-being. They were insecure. Not all students, we also see students thrive and take up all these initiatives and were really, really into it. But we also have a lot of students who have questions about the test. The tests are going to be digital and online, and they really, really need some more help. And they're also at home. Sometimes, like Prof. Brahm said, international students going back home. So we have time differences, and I found it difficult as curriculum developer to also pay attention to their well-being. So moving on, looking back at these circles, we also want to focus on the socialization and subjectification in our curriculum. And before I do that, I'd like to show you one slide, which is on motivational theory of students. And what we know, if you look on the right-hand side, we all want our students to be intrinsically motivated. And therefore, they need a set of satisfaction of their basic psychological needs. And these basic psychological needs are if they perceive a level of autonomy, if they perceive a level of competence, and if they perceive a level of relatedness. And we can support those perceptions. And especially the insecure students were struggling with whether they were doing all right, whether they were still on track with their course. So things like formative feedback, helping them see their competence is really important. And the same goes for relatedness. Being at home is not for everyone. They really need their friends. Some do that, and some are perfectly capable of organizing that. And for some, we're worried. And I think as educational institute, we also should pay attention to that. And so that's what I call socialization as well. And especially with the first year students, and I will come back to that. Those are, in our case, and Prof. Brahm said the same, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. They're making friends for life. They're leaving home. There's so many things going on in their life. And I think that's a really crucial phase in their development. And in what way or another we should pay attention to that. So these are recommendations when we have the opportunity to go back to some physical education. And that's the stage that we are in the Netherlands now, is that we are allowed some physical education with very limited amount of students, with the distance of, in our country, 1.5 meters. So we're now in the midst of trying to organize that in our hospital, how that could be possible. And I had to come up with, how do we prioritize? If we have this limited space and these limited resources, what do we then do first? And my advice is to start with students. So the beginners, the first year medical student, but also the first year clinical medical students, because they're in the transition. And going to the clinics, well, you all know that's a really big thing. So we really need to pay attention to those students. I'd rather have them coming into the university for a couple of sessions, that they get to know each other, that they get to know the institute, that they get to know the expectations, and then probably they can move online again. As I said before, really pay attention to the vulnerable students. So if you have them in sessions, in physical sessions, ask them how they're doing. Make it into a group thing that it's okay to talk about what you're struggling with, so that they feel that they're heard and that they also know where to go to when they're struggling real bad. And I think when you have the opportunity to do something physical, that's the opportunity to also do something about the professional identity development of students. So there they can see the role models. There they can see what it means to become a doctor or a nurse or another health professional. And that is really difficult to do online, I think. You can only do that in small groups. And in our country, we have student associations, for instance, around a certain study. And we really ask them to help us strengthen also the socialization of students. It's a challenge because students like to party and do things together. So we're really looking for how we can do that in a safe way as well. I hear some background noise. Am I the only one?
No, there is some background noise indeed. Perhaps the panelists could all mute, please, so that we don't have the background noise.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll move on.
Yeah.
So, and looking at the qualification purpose of education, so the knowledge and skills, we were also deliberating about that. So if we have the opportunity to go back physical a little bit, then we should really pay attention to the skills development. I believe the knowledge development can be really well done online if we do all the things right, but skills is really difficult. You know, a physical examination, you can prepare all the knowledge on the physical examination at home, but you really have to see it and touch things. And sometimes students don't have materials at home that they need for the skills development. So those are things that need to be considered, and it's really difficult, and also difficult discussion with teachers. What skill development, what practicals are actually crucial for the end objectives, the educational objectives, and what may be done in a later stage. And of course, all teachers think that their practicals are the most important ones. But then on an upper level or higher level, you know, if you need to make choices, which are then the ones that we really want to do in this phase of the education? And if you do that deliberation, then think of all the other educational purposes as well. So, for instance, we were talking about anatomy practicals. Is that necessary to do? Well, in our educational objectives, anatomy is one of the key ones. But we thought maybe we can do part of the anatomy in a gamified way, in a virtual way. But dealing, for instance, for first-year students with a dead body, a deceased body, is also something that helps them socialize in the profession. It's also something that develops their professional identity. And maybe we weren't aware of that earlier, but now, because we have to focus so much on getting everything out of this practical when we're going to do it physical, then we want to combine all these objectives. In our setting, we have to teach our students new instructional methods. So for our students coming from high school, they don't know what a PBL tutorial is, a problem-based learning tutorial is. So to get to know the way of learning, that's also very difficult to do online. So we believe, for instance, that our first year students should have 2 or 3 sessions in a physical way to understand the flow of PBL, and then the PBL session will be done online. So all these deliberations, and then of course we'd like to combine it. So in the end, we like to move. I think our future vision is to combine both online and physical education and get the best of both worlds. And so it's, in my view, it's really important to create good alignment then. And maybe you know of the concept of flipped classroom, where students prepare knowledge online, at home, through knowledge clips, etc. And then they come to the university and they have really deep, elaborate thinking and working on the learning material. I think in our setting, this was not as optimal as it could be. And hopefully now, due to this horrible COVID-19, we're learning how to do this better. As I said, if we have the opportunity to combine online and physical, I would really stress to combine these 3 purposes of education. So not only qualification, knowledge and skills, but also socialization and also subjectification. And last comment, I think, is analyze when it's important to start with physical education and when it can go online afterwards. So what is the optimal way of doing this? Do we need 2 or 3 sessions for students to understand PBL, and can it go online then, or do we need a little bit more or maybe a little bit less? And I think we can learn from all these experiences. And just the last slide, maybe it sounds like, oh, I'm nearly done, but this can only be done when we have resources and conditions there. And again, you may think, in Groningen, in the Netherlands, this Northern Hemisphere, this will be all organized really well. Too bad. No, it wasn't. We're still struggling to get the rooms safe and clean and have disinfection middle and stuff. We're struggling with our public transport because our students can't be in trains. We can't have too many students in the train. They can't be at office hours in the train. So we had all deal with all these things. So I can only imagine that if we're struggling with this, I think the whole world is struggling with this. Like Prof. Brahm said, we need teachers, a lot of teachers. Our researchers are really not into teaching. I'm amazed that you got them and that you have created this atmosphere that they are willing to help you. I think I'm gonna go back to my researchers now and try this at home. You need e-learning support like today, these wonderful people that are helping us out. So you need a lot of stuff to get this right. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your question and answers, baby.
Prof. Debbie, it was a great presentation. I found some, what phrase? Silly but important. Silly but and silly and pity points of the recent educational practices. But it is also, you also pointed out some important aspect that we need to taking care of some of sufferance of the students and its impact to the motivation to learning. So this speech will also enrich by the third speakers, also my teachers, Prof. Rita, from the other part, from Surabaya, that Prof. Debbie has pointed out about on-off physical and online education. So Prof. Rita will talk about the communication itself and its impact for the students' learning. So Prof. Rita, please, you can start your presentation in the next 30 minutes. Time's yours. You are still muted, Prof. Rita. You can turn your microphone on.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have your.
Just try to share my PowerPoint. Can you see that? No?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Can you see that, Fundi?
Yeah, you can start your presentation, Prof. Rita, please.
Okay. Salam and good afternoon, our distinguished guests, Bram and Debbie, and also our panelists, Prof. Tri, Dr. Herkutanto, all the colleagues, students, and participants. Actually, my topic is inspired by the pandemic era, which we have to use 100% online teaching and learning. So like what Debbie said, silly and important, I find that something that's silly and important, but it have an influence in a teaching and learning process. So let's go to the next slide. I can then use this next slide through this one, Fundi. Maybe I have to make it.
You can just hit return button. Enter, yeah.
Through the, you can see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not slideshow. But
yeah, you can just click slideshow, then you can use arrow or enter.
It is okay with this one. If everybody can see it, then it is okay for me.
Okay.
The outline of my presentation is actually, it is a question about the communication and empathy. Next, boy. Yes. Thank you, boy. The communication and empathy in doctor profession, the importance of doctor and patient relationship, how we can just teach our students through online. And what we now move to the computer-based communication, we have to increasing the power of non-verbal communication. We have to use that. And we already know that in doctor-patient relationship is a powerful part of doctor visit and can alter health outcome for patient. And it is characterized by 4 main elements: knowledge, trust, loyalty, and regard. Next. if we just pointed to the regard, rating of physician friendliness, warmth, emotional support, and caring has been associated with patient satisfaction. It means that empathy have the value to make the patient satisfied. And how can just we transfer this ability, the competence, through online teaching and learning? So that's the question. Next. Webster defines that it is understanding and entering into another feeling. And empathy is an advanced communication skill that requires understanding the other person's perspective by identifying his or her problems, feelings, thoughts, and values. How can we do that? Through an online teaching and learning, and through online from the student and the patient. Next. On the other side, empathy is an important component of doctor-patient relationship. And it is previous studies point that it is decline in medical student and always decline, and also in residency program. It is important thing because when it is decline, then we have lost the physical face-to-face communication that is need for the empathy, to build an empathy and social accountability. So empathy training has just been identified as a goal, yet is how training can best in medical curriculum, which is still the question because it is online. And now we in Faculty of Medicine here, 100% online. Everything can be transferred like knowledge, like what Debbie said, and also the skill, because we use video clip to train them about the skill for the physical examination, but not the feeling, empathy, and social accountability. Next. I just found an article in journal Ethic Medical Education June that still in Western part, the student aware the need of and to build a strong foundation for empathic interaction and give them the tools to be both effective communicators and skilled physicians. I always think that empathy is just lost. Maybe I'm wrong. Start in the Western part. It is still we can feel it in the ASEAN part and Eastern part, but I don't know how about the because sometimes the Western part is too rational. I always have a student guest from the Western part, and usually they are not to have a special attention to the social communication and etc. So I'm a little bit embarrassed that one student from America just mentioned that they still need to build a strong foundation for empathic interaction. Next. Next, boy. I can just
you can just click your screen.
Okay, yes. Okay, I find it. And now in pandemic era, we move to the computer-mediated communication. It is a non-verbal messengers. So we have to use that. There's no choice at all. But how we maximize the non-verbal messenger as a tool for teaching and learning about empathy and social accountability. It is the problem. And then it is hilang lagi. It is I can find it again. The panah phone.
Yeah. You just You can just drag your mouse or touch screen or touch enter, Prof. Rita.
Yeah, okay. I'm not familiar with the IT. Yes. And then we move to the new technology, and the name is technology of non-verbal communication. It is new one. We are not so so competent in the online communication. We just come into the new computing domain that named technology of non-verbal communication. So it is difficult for us, especially for the teacher, like Debbie said. Even though there in, you can imagine how here in our country. And then what is the function of nonverbal communication? Actually, it is just in line with empathy because it expresses emotion, express interpersonal attitude, and self-presentation of one personality and ritual like greetings. And the silly but important thing that I just find is, and you use also, Debbie, is emoji and emoticon are used to strengthen the message so that the receiver will understand the condition or emotion of message sender. Years ago, I think it is a silly thing, but now I think it's important because it's one part that we can use and enhance the capability to be a messenger for nonverbal that show our empathy and feeling. And there's two things that now is well known, emoticons, and it's only marks, letters, and numbers. But I think the most well known now is emoji. It's from Japan. This one, emoticon, is from the America, but it just start used in 1982. So it is earlier than emoji. Next. And you can see here that there is an research about the role of emoji and emoticons in enhancing interpersonal communication through Messenger and WhatsApp application. And you can see here the smiley is the great percentage. So this is the emoticons. But it's another thing than emoji that Debbie used, and I am also use that. Emoji is from Japanese, a picture emoji character, and are pictorial of faces, object, and symbols. And you can see apples, catch it. Yellow cartoon face that you use and I use is from apples. Apples just take it from emoji, a Japanese pictograph. Yes. So it's start in 1999 after the emoticon. Yeah. Sorry. And then emoji, but it is also, they declare that emoji message function as complement for non-verbal ones in face-to-face communication rather than as substitutes. So it is still face-to-face is the most ideal interaction because there are still misunderstanding and ambiguity in the area of ZMC. It is include the enhanced natural emotion that the user use. Yes. In published in February 2020, I think that's a future prospect of the emoji because now they use it for hand hygiene related terms. They just add something. You can see here how the clean hands and bar of soap, clapping. It is just a combine the clapping hands and soap. It is so simple, but it just can reflects the hand hygiene that we can socialization for the community or the patient through the student that use that. It's something that it is they have a future prospect for emoji and emotication. And also, it is can be created related to infectious disease, like the figure of mosquitoes, thermometer, and sneezing face, and lab coat, and test tube, and petri dish, and DNA. This is something for the future because we don't know until when we have to use the online. So we have to use that to maximizing the use of the emoji symbol. And how about in Airlangga in pandemic era? We have a training, empathy, communication, and building social accountability. And thanks to Dr. Sulis, I hope Dr. Sulis is present here as a panelist. What we have done with this training, empathy, communication, and building social accountability, we have a model about this topic. For 300 students in 26 PBL group. And the problem is, from the patient, no enough pulsa. I don't know it. Pulsa in what is the English word?
Internet quota.
Internet quota.
Yeah.
No enough pulsa. No enough time because linguist problem because the patient usually from the community, Dr. Brown. So they have no money, no enough time, but even they are a woman, they still work to support the financial problem of the family. And linguist problem because they cannot speak in bahasa, a good bahasa. So sometimes they use the tradition, Javanese bahasa. It is okay, but if the student is not a Javanese, it is a problem. And student, we push them without a training to use short message with empathy communication. Something difficult, but they can do that. I appreciate my student because they try to do that, and one of them is still here. I would like to ask how they think about the using empathy communication through the WA. They use it from the WhatsApp application. You can see this. This is before pandemic era. The student come to the disabled children and make an empathy gesture and talking and just touching them. But is the expressing feeling and so with emoji can replace it? I don't know. But they try to do that. But it is so touch my heart because you can see that the student with his feeling just try the hand of an disabled children. And then this is the thank you to Hilmi that just sent this WhatsApp to my email. You can see here, it's mean they just try to translate the feeling to emoji. Bless you and hope that you are still selalu still sehat, healthy, and there's amin, amen, with this hands. And also they just send the newborn and say alhamdulillah, thank you God. And you can see that even it is in a simple way, it is an empathic communication. How just we can make the figure or the emoji because we don't know until when we is still an online messaging like this right now. Yeah. And a systematic review to 2019 said that they put some new perspective for future emoji research, such as emotional association, what we just think now, and new modalities and impact on society, maybe with another figure, just to make it more maximizing the benefit, not only to show empathy, but also the health education and other thing that related to the health of the community. And in the summary, emojis, even is silly but important, empower interpersonal communication in different aspects, such raising awareness with no language barrier, educating them to adopt healthy behavior like hands washing and mosquito, etc. It is recommended to evaluate the relevant and appropriate of the current set of emoji to use for hand hygiene in order to harness the potential beneficial impact of this symbol. So maybe there's Australian or Western University emojis, or Groningen emojis, or Airlangga emojis that will enhance the non-verbal communication. Medical emojis that are standardized as a new category of emoji offer much hope for the future, especially in field of interpersonal communication. I think that's all. I hope my experience can give you something to think about. Thank you very much.
I just say, ooh. Yeah, thank you for the very nice presentation. And again, it was other silly thing that, yeah, something we cannot say that it is important, but it's really powerful for the students to learn about how to show their empathy, and as one of the aspect of competence that they have to achieve as a medical doctor. So I think we still have times. Then I will ask some panelists that have been already ready in this meeting. So first, I would like to ask Prof. Trinur Christina to share her perspective about the themes. Your time is about 5 to 10 minutes to give your short perspective. Prof. Trinur Christina, time is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for my time and opportunity to join this very interesting presentations. I really appreciate about the presentation of the three presentants. First of all, I would like to comment for the presentation from Dr. Brahma. This is because really my expertise in community-based education. Yeah, I'm really very happy on how the institution can still implement the community-based education, even though in the pandemic situation. In my institution, we also have the community-based education by involving not only medical students, but also other health professionals. So we implement community-based education combination with interprofessional education, interprofessional health students in semester 6 in the community. And really we have some obstacle during this pandemic, and I really appreciate that your institution still can implement this this learning model smoothly. Different with Indonesia, yeah, maybe because Indonesia is a paternalistic situation. So the important thing is not only in the community member, but from the key person. For example, the head of community health center, also the cadres, and also the head of district health office. So between good communication with them, with the key person. So even though in the pandemic situation, we still can implement this community-based education, but still the decision is still in the community member. Several community members really don't want to be have any communication at all, even though with WhatsApp, but several community members still agree to have connection with the students. Before I have a question about what are the student perception about this situation, yeah. But I'm very happy that Dr. Brahma present that the students, the community member, all still happy with this implementation, even though in the pandemic situation. So I appreciate with this. For Prof. Delby, here I want to just express the situation in Indonesia about the vulnerable students. Yeah, in Indonesia, we have selections method with various model. Therefore, we always have the vulnerable students, so we still have to give attention to these special students. If other student can very adaptive to the pandemic, but these students not that easy to receive this situation. Therefore, I would like to share in my institution. Nowadays, we have a very good communication with the students and also the parents. And the lecturer make a matrix which one that this is should be can be online, but that one we cannot do online, and we should do we call offline. So for this we have a standard operational procedure that we should be followed by all Civitas Academica, and then we also provide a letter that the parents give permissions if some lecture we should give offline. And then yeah, so nowadays we combine the online and offline learning. For Prof. Rita, yeah, I know that Prof. Rita is very concerned about communication skill, especially in the empathic. Yeah, of course, empathic, we should show our face that we really give attention to the patient, etc. Therefore, in the learning method in which we not directly meeting between students and patient, but start from a skill lab. So for this situation, in pandemic situation, the skill lab coordinator make something like a video call, so we can see or we can criticize, make a checklist about their face when they want to show the empathic, something like this. So we can make a criticize, or we can give some suggestion to increase. Besides, for the students that already should meet with the patients, but the patients only meet with GP, for example. So we also put a video, and then we can see the doctor as a role model on how he communicates, and then we can also see his face or her face, and then after that we ask the patient permission to uh, to use the video for education, for discussion between the doctor and the students. This is the situation in our institution for the students that already in clinical phase. And then I also appreciate the emoji character that you saw, Prof. Rita, and maybe we also can put can add the face of the doctor, a special doctor face for emoticon, something like this. I think this is really very good suggestion for you from you to us. I think only this that I can make some comment for the three presenters, and thank you very much. This is really, we can learn each other because of this situation.
Thank you, Prof. Tri. It's very comprehensive perspective on the themes, because we know that Prof. Tri has many experience as the dean at Universitas Diponegoro, as well as the chief of National Exam Committee of Medical Students. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Herku perspective on the topics that have been presented by three speakers. Dr. Herku Tanto, please, time yours.
My voice? Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I share screen for just to make it clearer for the ideas, for my ideas?
Okay, for sure.
All right?
Please. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation from the Airlangga University, Dr. Prof. Rita, Dr. Pundi, and then Dr. Corin, and also the three speakers, Dr. Brahma, Prof. Debbie, and Prof. Rita. I'm really, very, very happy to hear the presentations, and also glad. Why? Because what we experience here is actually you all experience also in other countries. Okay. So we're not alone. Yeah.
That's another emoji.
Yeah, that's another. Okay. So can you see the slide? Yeah.
Okay, we can hear. You can full screen.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually at the moment head of the community medicine department. It's just a small department, one of the 34 departments at my faculty of medicine, Universitas Indonesia. So but uniquely under my department, we have 5 divisions: family medicine, health service management, epidemiology and biostatistics, occupational medicine, and sport medicine. And we have 5 study programs. One is, of course, the undergraduate, the Bachelor of Medicine, but we also have 4 postgraduate, Master of Occupational Health, Occupational Medicine Specialist, Sports Medicine Specialist, and Aviation Medicine Specialist. So this, of course, creates problems that you all have explained in the presentations. Yeah, okay. So I was yeah, we two more study programs will come up in the near future. That is family medicine specialist and maritime medicine specialist. um, I would like to uh, jump into um, my question. Um, so just before the pandemic, everything went well like this. So we did several modules. Of course, physical, yeah, offline. We had in-class briefing. We have hospital round. We have visit to family medicine clinic and also to primary healthcare facilities for our students. We did a community visit. We did geriatry emergency also. We did night rounds at the hospitals. So, but everything was gone. So, right after the COVID, this activity should be canceled, as our rector has stated. And in fact, uh, the the newest um, the newest legislation from our rector stated that uh, this semester, I mean, from August to December, we will have to do everything online. So no activities should be done offline except for very important situations. So, for example, only for students who want to have the signature of the supervisors, which of course cannot be done electronically because it has potential, in the future. Yeah, if we use electronic signature for the thesis approval, yeah. So in that case, students can come and meet with the supervisor, but it's very limited. So the face-to-face meeting with the students and supervisors. So we do everything online after this, basically. So I just want to ask you about exams, whether it's formative or summative. Yeah, Dr. Brahma and Prof. Debbie, how do you do the formative and summative exams? Because it's very challenging if we do it online. You know, Prof. Nancy has stated that in our country, we have limitations of internet quota. Some or many of our students complain about poor internet connection. So that if we do it online, then we have to do specific methods, specific methods. We try to do this. Sorry, this is in Bahasa, but we do it in the form that limit the possibility of plagiarism and cheating. But still, we cannot guarantee how students do that because they are scattered, they are spread all over the areas, and we cannot control them one by one. Okay, so that's one of the challenges using the online. What is it? Online assessment. Also, we have challenges in doing assessment because usually we do it on paper. So, for example, if we have a case report, assessment of case report by students, for example, usually the student will present the case and then we ask some questions. We reinforce their comprehensive knowledge and understandings about the case. And then we make assessment and give scores, on paper. Okay, so since the COVID, then the students present the case online, and then we watch online, and then we give scores on G form. Now the problem with G form is that it limits our agreement among the examiners. because the G form usually is just quantitative, while usually besides quantitative, we also need to provide some qualitative assessment on students. So this also pose quite challenge to us. Another, this is what we did actually. So after we have to do everything online, then we provide lectures online, a COVID expert at that time, okay, with and then we got feedback, positive as well as negative feedback from students. Yeah, of course. I think it also happens there. Nah, the second question I want to ask actually, okay, so since COVID, we do a lot of meetings by Zoom like this. So this is a very familiar situation. We face the laptop or computer, and then it's me talking, and this is during department meetings. So some of my colleagues showed appreciation. But what about these two guys down here? Okay, so because they don't turn on their video, then we don't know what actually happens with them. How about this? The above picture showed. Yeah, this is my experience, you know. So in the past, when we want to skip school, okay, we have to climb, you know, the school's wall, okay, with our friends usually, and just expect that the teacher then forgot to take our attendance, then we're free. But if the teacher then
Bolos means not show
we're in
up.
trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Bolos means show up, Prof. Devi.
Yes. But nowadays, this one is the one is the emoji, the Prof. Nancy, Prof. Rita, that they use. Okay. So this is actually very difficult problems for us because we cannot ask our students to turn on their videos during the whole session. Once again, it's because of the limited quota and some poor internet connections in some areas. I wonder, maybe you have some experience about this, Prof. Debbie and Dr. Brahma, and how you try to solve this problem so that it's fair, not just for us as the lecturer, but also for our students. Because if we once force them, if you don't turn on your video, then we will consider you absent for that activity. But then we got complaint, we got negative feedback from students. So maybe you have some experience. You can tell us, your suggestions. Yeah, I guess that's some of the Dr. Fundi, silly but important things, yeah, that we face every day, and we need to have that kind of the kind of solution to make the learning run smoothly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Putanto, for your very nice story about this thing. So the next one, I would like to ask Dr. Puji to share her experience about this topic. Dr. Puji, perhaps would like to say something about silly, but another silly but important. Yeah, please,
Yeah.
Dr. Puji.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Greeting, Prof. Debbie, Prof. Rita, and Prof. Tri dari Undip. Ya, yang lain ini teman-teman lama, Pak Bram dan Pak Herku. It's nice to hear that not just me struggling here. First thing, it's not just for students, I think, but for the teacher also. So it's not the same when I teach in front of a class and when I teach in Zoom. I just don't know how they respond to me immediately at my presentation at real time. I mean, yeah, I can turn around the video, but I can do it while I do the presentation of my lecture. So uh, and the same thing also apply, I think, is the smaller the students, the easier it is. But the bigger class, the harder to handle. It's just the same. With a small group, when I just handling 5 students for some project, it's easier for me because I can see everybody face. I can talk one to each of them. But if I have to handle 50% in one class, it's just more difficult. And yeah, maybe emoji and always asking questions, always asking for response is uh, help. But I don't know. Just sometimes I just feel that I'm kind of like annoying teacher. So hello everybody, so something. I feel that I'm annoying teacher, and yeah, I don't know what happened with them with when the video off. Yeah, maybe just lying down and then having the game, or the other video YouTube or the other keep up uh, Sinetron over there. Yeah, just just the engagement is not the same with the face-to-face class. That's what I feel during this period of a pandemic. Yeah, but I think some other people uh, right. We just not we need more than just uh, remote teaching. They said that it's not the same between emergency remote teaching and online education. So online education, it need much more preparing, much more many method, many media, many small goals with many strategies, not just remote teaching. What we've done, maybe still, I believe, me, just remote emergency remote teaching. We just maybe make, I don't know, with our learning outcome, yeah, for cognitive goal, it is still okay, but for uh, affective or psychomotor goal, we need much more with assignment, with other things. I think just that's my comment. And nice, well done. I will drop by to Western Sydney University sometimes when I visit Australia. Okay, thank you, Dr. Fundi, for the opportunity. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Puji. Very nice comment, and I think there are some points that need to respond by the speakers from Prof. Trinur Christina, Dr. Herputanto, as Dr. Puji, as well as Dr. Puji. And we also find that there are some questions, the Q&A button. So I would like to ask the speakers to respond for those questions from both of panelists or Q&A. So I would like to change the sequence. So first, I would like to ask Prof. Rita to respond for some question and comment from the panelists. Prof. Rita, please.
Thank you, Dr. Fundi. I will start to comment about the advice from Prof. Tri. Prof. Tri, I know you very well, and you are so many experience in the medical education field. and about the how to get face to face, we already try to do the video call, but it is too expensive because the patient is from the middle and uh, low community, and sometimes they have a traditional what's a handphone that there is no modality for face to
There
face.
is no, yeah, there is no this technology. Yeah.
Yeah, it is about the technology. That's why we always just what we are. So
Yes.
we just accommodate the patient and also the doctors. The student, everybody have so high technology handphone, but not the
Not
patient.
the patient. Yes, you're right.
That's the why that we still think about using symbol,
Yes.
because the message must be short. So the internet quota is not too much. If too long and with figure, then it may be expensive for them.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
I share is the situation and in the skill lab. So this is between student and student. It's like a simulation doctor patient, but between the students. But also the situation for clinical students using teleeducation between the doctor who really practice with the patient, but video in under video, and then this video is studied by the students.
Yeah.
Yeah, discussed about it.
We have done the video, but the simulation on video.
Yeah.
But sometimes the Prof. 3, I think it is not in depth if they don't do
Yes.
it by themselves.
Yeah.
They like see a film, but not in depth in their heart. They have to do it with the patient, really patient.
If the
And then,
real person, yes.
yeah, but your advice about the making the face the emoji face is the doctors. It's okay. Why not?
Yeah.
To make it more that's photo, the student photos, put them in smile or angry or empathy or what, and just put it as a smile. It is a great advice. We will try to do that.
Yeah. How to make the face look empathy is, I think it's really difficult, right? Oh.
Let them to try. They're more clever than us in doing that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there are some application or software to make us as a cartoon person.
Yeah, it is an idea, a great idea, Dr. Prof. 3. Yeah. And
Beautify
about
our
the
faces and expressions, yeah.
yes, your voice is not yeah. And about Dr. Herku, you come about the I think there's no question for me, yes, Dr. Herku, because or maybe I have mistaken. Is there something comment for me?
Oh yes, yeah. It's actually when I showed you the photo of the Zoom,
Hmm?
okay, the Zoom, we can see expressions from the audience regarding our talk.
Yeah.
Okay, now, but it's difficult when the video is off. But still, sometimes when we are talking and we see the face of our audience, we cannot guess whether actually they are listening to us. So perhaps you have some clues. How can we differ between someone who is staring at the laptop and actually think of something else, and someone who is actually focusing.
Just photos, yes.
Yeah.
I think I have an experience. Just this morning, I lecturing the Malaysian student in Malaysia, and when I give the lecture, everybody has closed the window, the video. I don't know what are they doing, and I just tell them the first rule is I will give you a question randomly. You know that. So it's please you can just close your video, but I will give you it is an ujian and examination. So one by one is open, but still I give the question to the one that close the video. It's keep them inside there, not just moving through the pagar. We have to get a trick to keep them just sit there. But in my experience, Dr. Herku, the student became more, I think, clever because they have many time to read at home. And you know, usually we the lecturer from the medical education like to give long lecture. And now they have time to more in-depth learn by themselves. I think Professor Debbie like it, student learning, student center. And now they have the time to learn by themselves. Thank you. It's for you, Dr. Herku.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Rita. I think, it's a very important point that we have to do it in our education. So there are some recommendations also from Prof. Debbie and Dr. Bram. I remember that Prof. Debbie proposed to involve students in their representation in the education. So before two other speakers, I would like to ask Hilmi. Hilmi is one of our students that involved in some, of course, in some educational process of the how to build empathy. Before we hear some more explanation from Dr. Bram and also Prof. Devi. So Hilmi, you can your talk, and please be concise because we just have 10 minutes, around 10 minutes.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, professors, doctors, and seniors, and other honorable guests. My name is Muhammad Mibudin Asari. I'm currently is a second year, or to be precise, is a semester 3 preclinical medical student in medical faculty at Universitas Airlangga. I am delighted to be invited as one of the honorable guests. Words cannot describe my feeling as I am right now giving my opinion in front of professors, doctors, and seniors. As a student representative, I would like to give a few words about the presentations. First of all, I would like to give an opinion about the presentation of Prof. Brahmaputra. The innovation such as maximizing telemedicine and making new community partners instead of maintaining the old ones are really important to increase the students' engagement in online lecture, and I think it can be implemented in Universitas Airlangga. Second, I would like to appreciate Professor Debbie because her presentation really describes what students like us feel during this pandemic era, such as feeling insecure, feeling vulnerable, and many more. It really speaks for all of the students which are studying online right now. And lastly, I think the effect of non-verbal communication, which was presented by Prof. Rita earlier, is really strong. Just like Prof. Debbie said earlier, silly but important. And since we cannot do offline lectures as a student, we would like to maintain our manner in online conversation by using emoticon because we think it suits our purpose to be as polite as possible. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. I will give it to Dr. Vundi.
Thank you, Hilmi, for your sharing about this topic. So I think the next sequence, I will ask Prof. Debbie to respond for some points that being raised by panelists or in the Q&A. Please keep it in short because we have 10 minutes left. Please, Prof. Debbie.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Fundi. I'd like to respond to one of the Q&A questions that's on student engagement, and I think I can also answer Dr. Akutantu's remarks and worries maybe. I think it's really difficult to engage students online, but it's also difficult to engage them in the lectures. We think they're listening, but they're often not. I often sit in the back of lecture halls to give feedback to teachers, and when you look at their laptops, what they're doing, it's really not the topic of what you're lecturing. So I think there's not a lot of difference, but what's really important, and I think Prof. Rita just pointed that out, is in our curriculum, we have only 12 contact hours during the week. That gives them time to self-regulate, and the moments they have in connection with the teacher is really important to them. So I think it's essential to prioritize. When we're going to be online with our students, it needs to be the best experience ever. If it's going to be a 2-hour lecture, they are definitely going to do something else online. I can tell you for sure. And they will even try to look like this. And on the side, there's the YouTube, the email, they're delivering food, they're doing everything. So I think trying to engage them, and we also say to them, you have to put on your video, but sometimes the connection is not good as in your setting, and then you cannot force them to. But again, I think if the experience is really worthwhile, and it's also mentioned before, if the group is small enough, so I think it would be worthwhile if you can prioritize to create smaller groups, or even some of the software allows to have breakout rooms where they can go and have their discussions and elaborations and then come back. I think then it could at least work to the best of our abilities. And another thing was about the assessment, and I also saw a Q&A, a question on that. We don't have that many summative assessments also in our curriculum, so we try to do as much as formative as possible. And also in the online setting, it's really about feedback. So I teach, for instance, academic skills, and as a teacher, I got the curriculum on paper, and it said you have to assess them on this and assess them on that. And I take the liberty to really put it into feedback. So I'm just talking about what I've seen, their behavior. And then in the end, I say something like, okay, too bad, I also have to put it in a grade. So this is going to be the grade. But the whole session, I'm really focusing on the feedback. Because coming back to the question, how do we engage our students? They really need to know what their competency level is, where they stand. And they only get that from me speaking about their behavior and not about the grade I give them. But I agree, it's really difficult. We also did a lot of assessments on paper. So we had to move to the digital assessment. And I can tell you that was stress everywhere. The students were stressed. I have a teenage daughter who was doing the exams here at home. And I think she never was that early for an exam, trying to get everything ready and stressing out about the technology. So yeah, I agree with you that is really difficult. But I think my main message is prioritize what you really want to get done. Allow them enough time to self-regulate and self-learn, and make the moments that you have interaction as powerful as possible, and limit the amount of summative assessments and really focus on the formative. Thank you so much. I hope this is helpful.
Thank you, Prof. Debbie. And the last comment, please, Dr. Bram.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Wendy. I have 5 minutes and 6 items to show. So, so I'll try to be very, very quick. First of all, Just very quickly to show you this. This is from Bitmoji. So I can, you can imagine it. Not just expressing my empathy, but actually looks like me. Okay, so that's that's something that you can, and these are the, like the situations you may need to share with your patients. Okay, now just very quickly running through some questions in the chat room as well. First of all, very, very important, please beware of COVID-19 induced widening disparities. Okay, this is incredibly important because the students who have access to facilities, who have, who are more advantaged, more privileged, they will go zoom through with everything. They got unlimited internet and everything like that. And those who are struggling, they will struggle even more. And we're thinking about social justice here. Whatever we do with the curriculum, we have to bear this in mind. Do not design any curriculum changes with just the, for lack of better word, the privileged or the rich students in mind. Okay, always think about the the lowest common denominator. That is very, very important. Number two, about attendance. The question is always, are we looking for attendance or are we looking at engagement? As Debbie said, what's the point of having many people in the room if they're not engaging with you? Right? And at the end of the day, engagement is about how you run. I mean, when you give a lecture, you can have students who are not paying attention, but we all know lecturers who can just captivate the audience. And it's not any difference in an online situation. It remains exactly the same. You just need to make yourself engaging with the students. Right? Flipped classroom is something that you can try, just as Debbie said. Put all the lectures online and then just do the case discussions. Flipped classroom, we tried in lots and lots of program, and it works really well for our students, including those with limited bandwidth. They may not be able to use the video on, but because they know that this is a very important clinical case, that they make the effort to join via typing in Zoom or even calling by phone, because Zoom, as you know, you can call by phone. Somebody asked, how about teaching affective domain? Gamification is really good. We use this model, choose your own adventure, and at the end of that game, some of our students got really emotional. They say, I hate the mother in the scenario. How could she do that to her daughter? And which to us reflect that we managed to touch their affective domain using these engaging games, which is very simple to design. Okay. Somebody asked about how to prevent cheating in exams. We tried everything. We tried proctoring, which is, I don't know if you know this term, I only learned it a few weeks ago. Proctoring is basically you have somebody who can see your screen, right? And it's incredibly expensive. And the proctors reported like, I don't know, like 500 breaches of, that we had to sort through every one of them, and only 3 of them were actually real breaches. So it's not a good system, but we tried every single thing. Debbie, thank you so much for saying that to reduce the summative, that's what we do. So normally for year 3 in our curriculum, we have 4 written exams. We're now going to only give 2. But we're going to distill what is the most important to do the exam, because running exam online is incredibly difficult. We're using Blackboard. Blackboard is okay. It's not foolproof, but it's okay. One question is about assessing skills. How do we assess skills? We're still working on it. We're currently developing instead of OSCE, we're currently developing standardized, we call it STOFI, standardized online Viva examination. So we're still working on
can you finish it in 1 minute, please?
Yep. I am going to finish it in 1 minute. We're still working on it, and hopefully we can publish it once we evaluate that. And we include lots and lots of mini CX, mini clinical examinations, more formative rather than summative. Thank you. That's my 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bram. And my apologize for cutting your speak because we are running out of the time. So I think our discussion is very interesting this afternoon, and I think they are all in line what we have talked that.
I think there is a connection problem with Dr. Fundi.
Dr. Fundi is in Surabaya, boy.
Yeah, yes. I think, I don't know, maybe the power loss or internet connection loss, or I don't know. But I'm for sure there is not internet quota problem because there's unlimited quota there.
Unlimited to make sure
Yes, sure.
your job is okay, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is something to do with the connection. Okay, Prof, may I continue as a host?
Yes, you can take over.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Rita. And
I come back.
Okay, welcome back, Dr. Bundi.
Sorry. There is some problem. Just the same with the students when they attend our lecture. So
This is
really but important.
This is the real
Happen also for
the reality.
So thank you very much for all your participation in this workshop. Before I hand over this meeting to Dr. Boy as a host, so can we close the meeting with the science together, and our committee will put it in the as a gift from this meeting. So please just 3 or 5 seconds. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for your kind. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I will hand the time over to Dr. Boy as the owner of this meeting. Thank you for your kind participation.
Thank you, Dr. Fundi. What a great discussion. What an excellent discussion. And there is so many silly but important thing. And there is so many we have to learn. And thank you, Dr. Bram, to inspire us to make our own emoji, right? Dr. Bram, maybe Prof. Rita should have your own emoji, Prof. Rita, to show and I will help you to make that one.
Yes, okay. We will do it, boy.
And thank you, Professor Devi, for your time, and Prof. Tri, and Dr. Herko Tanto, Dr. Puji Lestari, and Dr. Fundi, and for your time. And I will close this meeting with hope we all still in good condition and health, stay healthy for everyone. And we hope that what we doing here make impact to our student in the future, and we hope the pandemic will be disappear soon. And thank once again as the behalf of Dean of Faculty of University of Airlangga, we say thank you and terima kasih. Dan let me speak in bahasa. Terima kasih atas semua perhatian. Mohon maaf apabila ada kekurangan. Atas nama panitia dan pimpinan Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Airlangga dan juga Ketua Unit AWCS Dr. Asra Al-Fauzi, kami mengucapkan terima kasih. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much and terima kasih.
Bye-bye. We meet again soon, Bram and Debbie. So, Prof. Tri and also Dr. Herku.
Terima kasih semua. Sampai ketemu.
Sampai ketemu.
See you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you for inviting me.
Prof. Tri. And also Helmi. Thank you, Helmi.
Oh yeah, thank you, Helmi. Thank
you, Prof. Rita. Thank you, Dr. Boy.
You're welcome.
Oke, see you.
Live semuanya.
Live.
Ya, we live.